Hello, this is Dr. Alpa Srivastav, working as Assistant Professor in the Department of Chemistry, Government Indira Gandhi Arts and Commerce PG College, Vaishali Nagar, Bhilai. Here we are discussing atomic absorption spectroscopy. This is the topic taken from syllabus of MSc 4th semester, paper CH19, unit 4. The topics which we are going to cover here are applications of atomic absorption spectroscopy, its theory and instrumentation involving flame atomization, graphite furnace, cold vapor technique and hydride generators. Students, the AAS is a very popular technique of quantitative analysis. The popularity of the technique can be realized by the fact that on an average, more than 500 research papers are being published every year on the applications of atomic absorption spectroscopy. Among various fields, one is the field of water analysis, where we can analyze various elements like calcium, magnesium, iron, silicon, aluminum, barium, etc. Similarly, for food analysis also this technique is helpful, and in the analysis of animal feedstuffs, this technique can be applied for the quantitative measurements of various elements like manganese, iron, copper, chromium, selenium, and zinc. In the analysis of additives in lubricating oils and greases also this technique can be analyzed. Similarly, in the analysis of particulates in soil and atmosphere also this technique can be applied. This is a very popular technique in clinical analysis. So, what is this technique? This is actually, by the definition, this technique is a quantitative method of analysis that is applicable to many metals and a few non-metals. As it is a spectroscopic technique, here what will happen? We will study the interaction between electromagnetic radiation and matter. मैटर और इलेक्ट्रोमैग्नेटिक रेडिएशन के बीच होने वाले इंटरैक्शन को हम यहाँ पर स्टडी करेंगे। तो प्रश्न ये उठता है कि ये जो इलेक्ट्रोमैग्नेटिक रेडिएशन होगा AAS में जो हम यूज करेंगे ये किस रेंज का होगा? तो ये पर्टिकुलरली यूवी विजिबल रेंज का रेडिएशन होता है। यहाँ हम AAS टेक्निक में जो इलेक्ट्रोमैग्नेटिक रेडिएशन यूज करते हैं वो है यूवी विजिबल रेंज रेडिएशन। In this periodic table, the elements which are highlighted in pink color, all these can be analyzed with the help of AAS. First of all, Wolfson observed atomic absorption spectra in 1802 and described the dark lines in the solar system. Wolfson के बाद कई साइंटिस्ट ने एटॉमिक एब्जॉर्प्शन स्पेक्ट्रा को एक्सप्लेन करने का प्रयास किया, but the credit for the development of instrumentation of AAS goes to Sir Alan Walsh. He was working in CSIRO in 1915. So AAS is an absorption method where radiation is absorbed by non-excited atoms in the vapor state. This technique involves the study of absorption of radiation by neutral atoms in gaseous state. Thus, the sample is first converted into an atomic vapor in ground state. These ground state atoms are capable of absorbing radiant energy of their own specific resonance wavelength. If the light of resonance wavelength is passed through a flame containing the atoms in question, then the part of the light will be absorbed, and the extent of absorption will be proportional to the number of ground state atoms present. Therefore, principle of atomic absorption spectrophotometer is based upon the Beer-Lambert law. Now the question arises, when we are using UV radiation in atomic absorption spectrophotometer, then how it is different from UV visible spectrophotometer? With the help of these two schematic diagrams, we can understand the basic difference between these two techniques. In case of atomic absorption spectrophotometer, the sample compartment, it is placed just before the monochromator, whereas in case of UV visible spectrophotometer, the sample compartment, it is placed after the monochromator. The second major difference between these two techniques is the atomic absorption spectrophotometer. This is used for the quantitative analysis, whereas UV visible spectrophotometer is used for qualitative analysis. This is the schematic diagram of atomic absorption spectrophotometer. There are four major parts. First is the light source, that is hollow cathode lamp. Second is the atomizer. Here in this scheme, the atomizer shown is flame atomizer, then the monochromator, and fourth part is the detector part. So here in this scheme, the light source that is used here is hollow cathode lamp. Then the second part, atomizer. This atomizer may be of various types, but here the atomizer shown is flame atomizer. The flame atomizer converts the sample in atomic state that are present in ground state. The light which is coming from hollow cathode lamp is incident over these ground state atoms, and the light that is coming out from this atomizer is analyzed by detector after passing through the monochromator. In this second scheme, you can see two cell spectrophotometer, and here the sample can be analyzed with respect to a reference material. These are the commercially available atomic absorption spectrophotometers. यहाँ यह बात महत्वपूर्ण है कि अलग अलग प्रकार के एनालाइट्स के लिए अलग अलग हॉलो कैथोड लैंप्स या लाइट सोर्स यूज किए जाएंगे. Now we come to the first part of atomic absorption instrumentation, that is hollow cathode lamp. Hollow cathode lamp is a glass tube. This is a glass tube that contains a hollow cathode at the center, and this hollow cathode is made up of the material that is to be analyzed, or this is if the material of hollow cathode is made from different material, then it is coated with the material of analyte. This hollow cathode is enclosed in a glass shield, and by the side of this glass shield an anode is placed. This airtight lamp is filled with inert gas, either neon or argon, and kept at around 1 to 5 torr atmospheric pressure. The inert gas is ionized as a high voltage potential difference is created between the tungsten anode and U-shaped cathode. When a voltage is applied between these two, then the gas filled inside this tube get ionized, and after ionization these neon or argon cations, these get bombarded over the hollow cathode lamp, producing atomic cloud of the analyte material. Some of the atoms generated here are in excited state, and when these come to ground state, then the characteristic radiation is emitted out. Next part is the preparation of sample. The sample that is used in atomic absorption spectrophotometer, that may be aqueous solution. That is always in, first of all, the main condition is that the sample is always in the form of solution. It may be aqueous solution, and when it is aqueous solution, it may be diluted with water and sprayed. If the sample is non-aqueous sample, then it can be diluted with appropriate solvents such as methyl isobutyl ketone. And if the sample is plant or animal tissue, then it is ashed by wet or drying ashing technique, and the solution of ash is prepared in hydrochloric acid and diluted with water. In case where metals and alloys are used for the analysis, these are dissolved in acid or alkali and the resulting solution is diluted with water. In case of trace elements, these are concentrated by extraction with chelating agent into an immiscible solvent and the resulting solution is sprayed into the flame. Next part is the atomization. For atomization, various techniques may be used. First method is flame atomization. Second is flameless electrothermal atomization method, and third is vapor generation method. Let us see them one by one. First is the most popular atomization technique is flame atomization. The flame atomizers consist of three major components. One is the nebulizer that creates a fine mist of sample solution. Second is the spray chamber where the mist of sample get mixed up with the oxidant and fuel. And this mixture is sprayed inside the flame. Third part is the burner that supplies a stable flame to atomize the elements in the specimen. The degree of atomization is temperature dependent, therefore we need a specific fuel oxidant mixture for specific analytes. Here in this table you can see the approximate temperature can be produced by specific fuel oxidant mixtures. Now the disadvantages of flame atomization. Only 5 to 15% of the nebulized sample reaches to the flame. Then flame atomization is less sensitive as compared to graphite furnace atomization. The sample which are viscous require specific dilution techniques prior to the atomization. Then relatively large sample quantities are required. And the advantages are this technique is highly precise, easy in operation, and comparatively it is economic. To overcome the shortcomings of flame atomization, King introduced another method using electrically heated tubular furnace called flameless electrothermal atomization. In this method, the nebulizer, spray chamber and burner of conventional atomic absorption spectrophotometer are replaced by an electrically heated carbon furnace. A graphite furnace is made up of graphite tube which is open at both the ends and provided with a hole at the center for sample injection. In this inset picture you can see the process of sample injection where we can put solid sample directly in microliter quantity. In this picture you can see the end view of graphite furnace. The tube is encased within graphite electrical contact at both the ends that serve to heat the sample. So the sample is directly heated inside this graphite furnace. You can see the schematic diagram of graphite furnace atomic absorption spectrophotometer. Here the furnace is kept in between the hollow cathode lamp and monochromator. What are the advantages of graphite furnace? First of all, the efficiency of nebulizer burner system is only of the order of 10%, while the efficiency of graphite furnace is about 90%. Second is the graphite furnace requires only a small volume of sample, typically from 2 to 50 microliter. The sensitivity of this method is quite greater, it is 10 to 200 times. Still, there are two disadvantages of graphite furnace. One is its porosity, another its tendency for carbide formation. These shortcomings may partially be overcome by coating the tube with pyrolytic graphite. This pyrolytic graphite can be prepared by heating the tube in methane atmosphere. Next is the cold vapor and hydride generation, atomic absorption. There are few elements which are quite volatile in nature and cannot be measured by flame or furnace techniques. For mercury, particularly for mercury, we use cold vapor technique, and for other elements like arsenic, antimony, bismuth, selenium, tellurium, lead, etc., we use hydride generation method. For the hydride generation method, we take the sample and react it along with the sodium borohydride. Then the hydride generated is then carried via inert gas to the sample cell in the path of light. In the sample cell, which is heated, the hydride gets dissociated and free atoms are formed. In this diagram, you can clearly understand how the process goes. In a reaction vessel, we take sample along with the sodium borohydride and hydrochloric acid, where hydrides of sample are formed, which are carried by inert gas into a quartz absorption tube. This tube is kept in the path of light and heated by proper flame, where atoms of the sample are formed and further analysis is carried out. This particular technique, when it is used for mercury, it is known as cold vapor technique. मरकरी के लिए जब यही टेक्निक उपयोग में लाई जाती है तो इसे कोल्ड वेपर टेक्निक कहा जाता है, क्योंकि मरकरी के हाइड्राइड्स इमीडिएटली डिसोसिएट हो जाते हैं, इन्हें हीट करने की आवश्यकता नहीं पड़ती। तो मरकरी के जो हाइड्राइड्स होते हैं इन्हें हम कोल्ड वेपर्स कहते हैं, और ये सैंपल सेल में क्वार्ट्ज एब्जॉर्प्शन ट्यूब में ऑटोमेटिकली डिकम्पोज हो जाते हैं और मरकरी के वेपर्स या मरकरी के एटम्स फॉर्म हो जाते हैं, जो आगे एब्जॉर्प्शन कर रिजल्ट डिस्प्ले करते हैं। This is all about the hydride generation and atomic absorption spectrophotometer. Now the light coming out from the atomizer is passed through monochromator and then multiplied by using photomultiplier tubes and detected. This is all about the atomic absorption spectrophotometer. I hope this video will be helpful for you. Thank you.